Learning to hold people accountable is such a delicate skill because we have to be both strong and tender, respectful, but also sharp, brief, especially when it comes to public setting. So here we're going to listen to JD Vance, which I happen to be a huge fan of, in the way he holds our newscaster accountable when they're not being respectful. And I think we know for so long, there has been a corruption in our media industry. There's been a almost a lack of trust. Media right now is all time trust is extremely low because for most of us that are kind of aware of the situation, it has been used as a propaganda. But I think here what I want to highlight is the strength of a man and also how JD Vance does it in a way that is respectful. And I think that's where the skill is here. And I think it's masterful. And I think we can all learn how to do this because the tendency is that we don't hold those people in public space accountable. The tendency is to just sort of kind of like, oh, that's just the way it is. And we don't see that we could play a very pivotal role in raising the standards of honesty and integrity in our culture. But if not you, then who? And I think that we need to do a better job being proactive about how we're going to raise the standard of communication in a public setting in our culture so that we don't tolerate this injustice that almost feels as though there's a double standard. So I'm coming in here from a skill level and a mindset kind of perspective so that women will know what to do. It's not we don't have to be a victim to the fact that we don't always feel like there's something that we can do about the state of our culture. What we can do is be very hyper aware of what's happening, not being different, but rather discern and figure out where we can interject ourselves to make a difference and figure out how we can raise the standard in a culture. So let's take a listen.
CNN realized that JD Vance was not going to let them lie and spread fake news, and their reaction at the end is priceless.
Dana, would you like to ask me questions and then let me answer them, or would you like to debate me on these topics? I noticed that.
Okay, first of all, the composure in which he asked that question, oh, it's masterful. And all he's saying is, do you want to let me answer the question? Because in the news, they're talking over each other and nobody is hearing anything. And it's kind of representative of the way the state of our culture, nobody's listening to each other. And I think what JD Vance does here is hold the standard in a way that was respectful without making her feel small, but also very fierce about it and not take for granted that this is what the news does and let them get away with it. I just think it's
When you had Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, you gave them multiple choice answers to.
okay. So now he brings in the receipt and says, when this happened to an opposing candidate, you gave them a softball, multiple choice. And so what he's doing is he's backing kind of what he's saying by saying, well, why is there a two-tier justice system? Why is the news being really soft and not giving the same level of fierce questioning and journalism that there should be? And why are we tolerating this? And he brings in what it is to see. And the world is seeing it, by the way. It's not like we were unaware of it. For most of the world who's open to seeing it, we saw that there was a two-tier justice system. We also saw that there was a media that was in favored, for the most part, mainstream media that did not hold a level of accountability and standard to Kamala Harris or Biden, but was so harsh also to Trump. Now, you don't have to be a Trump fan or a Kamala Harris fan, or that's not the goal of this video. The goal of this video is to learn how to communicate in a level of excellence in spite of difference of opinion, that there should be a level of accountability in our media, and we should hold them to a standard because for so far too long, they've gotten away with so much, I would say, injustice, maybe because we didn't know how to hold them accountable. And I think he's giving us a masterclass on class, but also courage. Let's continue.
The questions that you asked, and you allowed them to answer the questions. I'm happy to be here to talk about policy.
You allowed them to answer the question, but you wouldn't allow me. And he said, I'm happy to be able to talk policy with you, but let me answer the question because that has been the norm. And what he's saying here is like, I'm not even going to address the issue. I'm first going to address what I think is obvious, but we've become so desensitized to the fact that it's obvious that we don't hold anybody accountable for speaking over each other. There's a lack of respect in the human person right in this exchange, and he's attacking it right there. So sharp, so fierce, so courageous, but also so dignified.
But if you're going to interrupt me every single time that I open my mouth,
If you're going to interrupt me every single time, he's stating the obvious that we all see.
then why am I even doing this?
And here's the thing, he is coming to a liberal network where he probably isn't welcomed, or that he knows exactly that he will be scrutinized, but he still chooses to do so because that is what I think is necessary for our country to see both kind of opposing views, and that he's putting himself in a situation that he knows he's going to get attacked, but he's still doing it. I mean, talk about courage. Talk about going into the lion's den, but not going in there sheepish about it, going in there with a level of strength, humility, courage, but not letting them get away. In the women's school, we talk about if we don't hold people accountable, we create monsters out of them. We create monsters around us, but also within us because we become resentful. So, what he's doing is he's giving us a master class on class and accountability.
So please ask a question, and I'd ask you to be polite enough to let me answer it.
And I ask you to be polite enough. I mean, just such a great way to just raise the standard. Let me know your thoughts in your ability to be able to do this in a very masterful way where you're not attacking the person, you're calling the person on to a level of excellence. You're not just speaking over the person, but you're actually helping kind of create a case on what they're doing without also disrespecting them. I mean, to me, this is a way forward. To me, we should think about our skill level in holding not just obviously media, but our friends accountable when there's an injustice in their assumptions about who we are, while doing so in a way that's respectful and classy. And I think we can do both.
Yes, I am.
After this,
And see, here's the masterful. Because of the way he did it, she was open. And because of the way he did it, she was put back in her place in a very obvious way to the audience. And she probably feels bad because she's aware of it, because JD Vance walked her masterfully on the importance of respect, not condescendingly attacked her, which is what the norm is. Now, why is this important? Because what we are so used to is attack, kind of, tat for tat, and it becomes just sort of this noise. And what we have here is actually her almost with humility owning up to the fact that maybe I can do better because she wasn't attacked. Now, if the circumstances were different and he was attacking her and she was speaking over and he was attacking her, we wouldn't progress into a healthy discussion, which is the goal. The goal is to learn how to have healthy discussion, because the goal is not to win over somebody's opinion, because sometimes it just cannot be the case. We are coming from different perspective, and the goal is for us to see each other's perspective and find sort of maybe a middle ground or help us understand each other's perspective. But it's not going to happen if we're not respectful and we're not respectful of each other, and also simultaneously just attacking each other. It's not the best tactic, but it's been the normalized tactic. And I think what JD Vance is open our eyes here is that this is more productive. This actually can cover so much more influence than us speaking to each other. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and let me also know, for 0 to 10, your skill level in your capacity to raise the standard of accountability, communicate effectively, while simultaneously keeping your composure and your ability to respect the people around you. And, wherever we are, that's what we teach in the women's school, is that we need to understand first where we stand, have our own metric so that we can improve. Yeah. So by holding ourselves accountable to our skill level, 0 to 10, 10 being very skilled at communicating effectively and holding people accountable, to, January, I just shy away to it, or I'm really bad at it, or I just get angry, upset. Now we have a metric to kind of go by, and we know, okay, then what are the skills that I need to then learn and improve so that I can then develop this skill level. Now, why should we develop the skill of holding people accountable? It's not so that we can, look at me, hold ourselves to this role of look at me. But the ultimate goal of learning to build a skill of accountability is to actually create a standard in society that's rooted in order and peace and harmony. Because without accountability, people will be entitled, and that there won't be a standard that is rooted in respect and excellence. And so accountability is non negotiable if we are to create a healthy environment where people are heard, respected, and valued. So, this is a skill that every woman needs, and every man needs, but every woman needs. And that we can't just say, well, I'm just not good at it. We have to learn to be good at it, because by not being good at it, we enable a lot of injustice in the world. A lot of bad things can happen because we have negated our duty to improve our skill set. This is simply a skill of holding people accountable to a higher standard in which they communicate, holding ourselves accountable to the way we communicate, and managing our mind. These are all skills. So if you notice from JV Dan's perspective, this skill level is mastery of managing his mind, his emotion, and communicating his tonality, in holding her accountable, also communicating in a way that doesn't degrade her, and also the diction, but his pace is not fast, it's not arrogant, it's firm, and it's constant. And I think what he has done is just bring in all those skill set together in this opportunity to hold this journalist accountable to a higher standard. His skill level gave this journalist a capacity to maybe look from within, and maybe that's, overly hopeful, but let's hope, let's try to think well of people, that in the way we communicate, we can influence maybe somebody's openness to see what could be a better outcome. And I think that's what he did here, was that his mastery of skill level opened the door to her thinking about the way she's also showing up, that his level of mastery of the skill set became what allowed for greater accountability in our media, which has been so corrupt. So our skill is not optional. Our skill is necessary to create an ordered, peaceful, harmonious culture. And that's how we as women need to approach this, is that instead of criticizing and thinking we're not enough, or we're not good, or we can't contribute, we can say, what skill can I learn, unlearn, and relearn and acquire today that could help me raise the standard of those people around me, but also raise the standard in which I show up and contribute value to the world? And that is just training. It's simply something that we can learn. Nobody is born masterful at communication. Nobody's born masterful at these skill set. We have to be intentional about mastering it. But here's the beauty of it. When a woman understands that she has so much influence by the way she can contribute value to the world, then we can say, well, I better do a better job training myself for the right mindset and skill set, because I have an obligation and a duty to contribute good in the world. And if I don't have the right skill set, then I could also rob the world of the good that is necessary to raise the standard of morality in our culture, simply because I'm unwilling to, I would say, bring to the forefront the importance of my training. And that's what we offer in the Women's School. So if this is resonating with you, and you think, you know what, January, I want to not blame and shame, but rather learn the skill, then you can check us out at thewomenschool.com and join a movement of what we call human formation, which is simply the development of our minds and our skill set, order every arena of our life to a level of excellence. And that's what we do in the Women's School. Go train up, skill up, so you can scale up your life.